Guys, there have been some new changes to the H1B visa program, and employers are already finding ways to get around it. But hold that thought, we'll get to that in just a moment. You know, we've been covering over the past few months what's happening with the H1B visa program, and the Trump administration has made some changes in an effort to reduce H1B visa abuse. They instituted a $100,000 application fee, and then even more recently, they announced they'll be reviewing the last 5 years of social media content for applicants. And again, we covered that in this video here. You can go check that out for more details on that story. But the Trump administration has also instituted an additional rule that's going to be effective on February 27th. Essentially what they're doing is replacing the old lottery system and replacing it with a selection process that favors more highly paid workers. So again, this is meant to solve the problem of the undercutting of wages and also avoids visa abuse, because historically IT companies and IT staffing companies could flood the lottery system by submitting multiple registrations for workers. So maybe they have Jim, who is a software developer, and they could submit 100 different applications for Jim. Not something the regular person can do, but these IT staffing companies like Tata Consulting Services, just as an example, could flood the zone, so to speak. And by the way, if you're interested in this type of content, definitely like and subscribe. I'm bringing you a fresh video 6 days a week on how AI and the job market is changing, because please believe it is changing. So let's go a little bit deeper here. So by overriding the lottery system with this system that prioritizes high wage applicants, what are the impacts? What are the effects? What does this actually mean? And before we get into that, let's kind of break down exactly how this operates. So essentially, they're going to be placing greater odds based on where you fall on wage level. So essentially, the higher your wage level, the greater your chances of being accepted into this H1B visa program. I'll give you an example. Workers could be entered into the selection pool 4 times if assigned to the highest wage level, 3 times at the 3rd wage level, twice at the 2nd wage level, and only once if they're on the lowest wage band. And what's really interesting to me and to you is that historically, the university system was a pretty solid pipeline for companies when it comes to H1B visa applicants. But at this point, if you're fresh out of college in an H1B visa program, you're actually going to be enrolled at the lowest tier. You're going to be at one of the lower wage levels, which means your chance of getting hired by a company have reduced as well. Now, none of this should be a huge surprise. Again, we covered this in a video a little while ago, and I'll post a link to it here. When the Trump administration announced there's going to be a $100,000 application fee for an H1B visa program, you could kind of see where they were going with it. They said, hey, listen, we don't want to be undercutting American wages. We want to bring in labor, but we want like the really highly skilled labor, the highest earners, so they can come in and train American workers on, software development and tech and databases and new types of batteries and high-level electronics and all this stuff, right? So this is just another step in that same direction. But this has put companies in a bad spot, because now their talent pipeline has been flipped around. Everything's been flipped around. And so companies are finding ways to get around these new rules. How are they doing that? Well, one of these is the L1 visa option, which you may have not heard of before. And what this essentially does is it allows companies to temporarily transfer certain employees from foreign offices to their US offices. And now it's worth noting that H1B visas are capped at $85,000 per year. The L1 visa doesn't have a numerical limit. So you could potentially see companies bringing in tons of their offshore workers here in the United States using the L1 visa program. We'll have to see if there's any big announcements from companies like Google, Meta, Microsoft, etc. But that's certainly something that could happen. That's something that they're looking at. The other, I think, real possibility is outsourcing and offshoring and putting an even bigger push into hiring people overseas. Critics of the program say that the larger employers are going forward will simply outsource jobs to workers abroad and they won't pay US taxes or pay into the social security and social systems in the US, which I think is a reasonable criticism. And I don't really see a reason why companies wouldn't put more emphasis on offshoring. Again, we covered this in a few weeks ago. I'll post a link to the video here. Microsoft has announced that they are going to be focused on upskilling 20 million Indians. And if that's not an indicator that offshoring is going to play a larger role in these large companies, I don't know what is. That to me seems like a pretty solid indicator that we can expect more of that. Listen, regardless of where this thing goes, we'll definitely be tracking it here. Again, you're liked and subscribed. You should also subscribe to my newsletter, which is completely free at aiupdate.ai. But regardless, this is going to be a big shift in the way that employers and employees operate. The entire, and we talked about this at length, guys, the entire career ladder is being upended right now. And certainly offshoring, outsourcing is a big part of that. H1B visa program is a big part of that. Artificial intelligence is a very, very large part of that as well. The college education system is a big part of that. Everything is being shifted around. And it's really important that we shift as well to keep up. And one of the things that I also expect is we're going to see more changes, major changes to the offshoring rules and regulations. I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week almost 10 years ago now. And at that time, he was like, listen, this is great. I can hire someone in the Philippines. It costs me 20% of what it would cost someone in the United States. And there's a lot of people, including myself, who have built business models off of this reduced labor cost. Love it or hate it, you know, I work with people all over the world, and they're just a lot less expensive. There's pros and cons to hiring, but one of the big pros is that I can pay someone $5 an hour overseas in the Philippines, and it would cost me $20 an hour here in the United States, which is a pretty big deal. If we do see increased regulations on offshoring, it's going to be a huge challenge for a lot of digital organizations. Huge challenge. I mean, guys, the companies I work with now are hiring tons and tons of people overseas. Some here in the United States, sure, but a lot of people overseas to serve all sorts of functions, from video editing to social media management to emails to admin to customer service, all kinds of roles. So a big shift like this is going to it's going to increase the cost. I'm kind of predicting the future now, but assuming there were some changes and increases to the cost of employment, because again, if you're not hiring overseas, you're going to be hiring here. The cost of all of these services is going to increase too. It would have to. You know, if I had to hire, you know, I have 6 team members right now, 5 of which are overseas. If I had to rehire them in the United States, that's going to increase cost tremendously for me, and that's going to get paid forward to my customers. And it's going to either force me to increase my expenses or look to alternative solutions like artificial intelligence. And, you know, this has kind of been a standard point of mine, is that artificial intelligence intrinsically lowers costs for your organization, which you can pay forward and become more competitive and get more done. The 2026 is going to be the year for that, guys. It's going to be there for that, especially as we push into limiting offshoring, H1B visa programs, etc. So regardless, guys, my message continues to be the same and on point. Now is probably the most important time in our lifetimes. I'm 42. I don't know how old you are. You're probably between the ages of 35 to 45. That's the primary demographic that watch the channel. If you're younger, older, mazel tov, glad you're here. But now is a really important time to stay fluid, to learn, to change, to shift. Everything is shifting. And as a result of that, there are going to be a lot of new problems that come up. And what happens when new problems arise? New solutions must be found as well. There's going to be a lot of opportunity this year, guys. It's going to be really tough, but it's going to present a lot of opportunity. With challenges comes solutions. With problems comes opportunity. And it's incumbent upon us to find them. So thanks for liking and subscribing to the channel. I will be sure to share tons and tons of new info for you. I'm really on fire today, guys. I'm really lit up. I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff happening. There's a lot of problems, but again, a lot of cool stuff happening. So I'd encourage you to just stay stay lit. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, aiupdate.ai. And if you enjoyed today's video, you will definitely like yesterday's video where we talk about exactly what's happening with the college pipeline. The university pipeline is being essentially shut down. The days of very, very expensive college loans and degrees is ending, for better or for worse. Check out that video. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.